Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel on finding your path to your best emotional, physical health, and a continuation of our series on trauma styles and trauma types and how to kind of recognize those. So, as always, please subscribe to get notified of more videos because they're going to come out every couple of days or so. If you're interested in the data, please send this stuff out to more people. We want people to understand these kinds of things that affect their lives and get as much help as possible. So please share this as much as you would like. Also, don't forget to download my 5 free videos on the tips to finding your best emotional and physical health so you can start to lay the foundation for your overall health and healing. So with that, let's kind of get into today's topic, which is going to be the 10 ways to kind of identify the freeze trauma type and how those will kind of show up in your life. So as we've been talking about, people that are kind of ambivalent in their attachment and ambivalent in their relationships, their desire for intimacy as they try to create intimacy will actually create those emotional flashbacks to kind of get them kind of stirred up and uncomfortable and kind of cause issues. So some of the ways that we can kind of identify people that are the freeze trauma type, which can be a really challenging one, is understanding that their goal or their security, the way they kind of handle negative things in their lives, is to hide from the world, okay? So people that have hide from the world behaviors, that's number one. Number two is their belief that others, and they mean others like the world and people, and even people they're close to, are dangerous, and that's their kind of world belief about other people, okay? Number three is going to be that they might kind of avoid with things like social media, TV, sleeping, other right-brained activities so that they don't have to deal with their emotional stuff. They can sometimes do video games. They get kind of absorbed in that. Don't overanalyze this too much because sometimes people get stuck in video games, and that's a little bit more common in the younger generation than it is maybe in the older generation, so that they may not necessarily have this trauma type just because they like to do video games. It's usually if that's the only thing they do and that they can't get out and engage with other people as much as they would like. So the number four thing is that they tend to actually project their perfectionistic demands actually onto others, okay? So they are going to assume that the others are critical of them all of the time. And they're going to basically see criticism everywhere, okay? So that's number four. Number five is their threat response is, of course, going to be inaction. We've kind of mentioned that before, some similarities. So when they are faced with a threat, whether it be from another person or from a stress in their life, they are going to shut down and kind of avoid everything. Number six, they will tend to show that they have difficulties making decisions because they're worried about making the wrong decision. So again, that's another shutdown behavior. So when they're asked, because as a decision can be stressful, when they're asked to make a decision, they're going to be like, no, I can't do that. It's just too much. Number seven is they're achievement phobic because having an achievement or completing something is going to put them out in front of others and have others maybe say whether or not they've done right or done wrong or anything like that. Number eight is being detached from others. So they're going to have few, if any, relationships, and the few that they have, they're going to hang on to tightly because they're afraid of replacing those. These people are also in and out of therapy a lot because they know they need help, but they tend to detach from their therapist really, really easily. I've even had ones tell me that they look for ways to rupture the relationship so then they could blame me or somebody else to get out of it. Because when you start getting close and you start pushing them to make some changes, they're like, okay, this is too much, I can't do this, I need to avoid. So as a therapist, we tend to kind of work slowly with these people and go in and out because they do shut down very easily. And sometimes we don't talk about anything important because they just can't. They just aren't in that place where they can really address the issues, and they have to kind of just be in a kind of a normal relationship where you chit chat about just general life stuff sometimes because that's all they can tolerate in the moment. And then we can move on back into confronting stuff as we kind of ebb and flow out of that relationship. Number nine is kind of tied into the last one where they detach from others, and they are going to withdraw from connection. So I talked a minute about how I handle that as a therapist, but they are going to do that in their personal lives as well. They, will act like a friend and interact quite a bit, and then it becomes too much and they're going to totally withdraw. So they might kind of come in and out of lives pretty frequently. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you if you're the friend. It just means that they struggle with connection, and so they have to withdraw when they start feeling overwhelmed. And don't think that you did anything wrong if you're like I said, if you're the friend. You just need to know this is how they deal with connection with others. And again, it's an ebb and flow, in and out. These number 10, these people are often mislabeled as depressed, and they're the kind of depression where they're just kind of can't get out of bed kind of depressed. A lot of times these are diagnosed as dissociative disorders. We see a lot of those as well. They will end up like this. Sometimes they can be ADD because they are in their head. They can also be labeled as schizophrenic because, again, they stay stuck in their head and they do not interact with the world. So these kind of develop from a family where the children are blamed and they're the scapegoat and they're kind of abandoned and not allowed to express any of the other responses that we've talked about, the fight or flight, which are the most common. So then they've been punished for both of those. So they've sampled and tried the fight, and they've sampled and tried the flight, and then they freeze. And you actually might see them try to employ other types of behaviors, but they're all over the place. And they try the fight or flight, and they try the fawn, and then they just freeze because nothing works for them. So they end up freeze and shut down. Okay, so this one is actually one of the most severe ones, and definitely will come from disorganized attachment disorder because it's very chaotic. Their life was very chaotic as a kid, so they really, really struggle to heal. So that's it. That's my tips on how to identify the freeze trauma type, and we'll get into the next trauma type during the next video, so stay tuned for that. Again, if you think you need some personal coaching around some of these things, please connect with me on the website and we'll get you hooked up. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.